Dear future generations, I think I speak for the rest of us when I say, sorry. Sorry we left you with a mess of a planet. Sorry that we were too caught up in our own doings to do something. Sorry we listened to people who made excuses.
This morning, Mr. Trump took to Twitter saying he would be announcing his decision over the next few days.
Excuses to do nothing. I hope your generation can forgive us. We just didn't realize how special the Earth really was. Like a marriage gone wrong. We didn't know what we had until it was gone. You know, when I was a child, I read how the Native Americans had such consideration for the planet that they felt responsible for how they left the land for the next 7 generations, which dims my hope, because most of us today don't even care about tomorrow. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we put profit above people, greed above need, the want for gold and diamonds above the golden rule. I'm sorry we use nature as a credit card with no spending limit. Overdrafting animals to extinction, stealing your chance to ever see their magnificence. Sorry we poisoned the oceans so much that you can't even swim in them. I'm sorry that nearly every piece of plastic ever made still exists today.
My solemn duty to protect America and its citizens. The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord Thank you. Thank you.
But most of all, I'm sorry about our mindset, because we had the nerve to call this destruction progress. Progress is not destruction. The World Wildlife Fund knows and understands what real progress is. WWF is creating a world where people live in harmony with nature. WWF harnesses the collective power of supporters around the world, our communities, our companies, and our governments to create real solutions and progress for the people and the planet. We have never faced a crisis so big, but we have also never had a bigger opportunity to solve it. WWF has gone where no environmentalist nonprofits have gone before. WWF has taken their research to the very top at the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is an international convention dedicated to fighting climate change and its effects, and thanks to WWF, there has been some firm goals directly tied to carbon levels due to WWF's research. And without getting too into public policy mumbo-jumbo, I can summarize the policy established by saying all countries who adopt the agreement are bound to prevent global average temperatures from rising beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. This year, Donald Trump pulled the U.S. out of this agreement. However, we still have a ways to go, as only 60 nations who have ratified the agreement so far only account for 47.76% of the world's carbon emissions. We still have a lot of work to do, peeps. Notice I said we. You see, 98 days ago, the World Wildlife Fund presented us with a challenge. This objective goes beyond numbers and science, deeper than politics and big corporations. It starts at the core of society. Individuals. In the last 98 days, we have dived and cultivated deep into WWF's objective they have presented us with. Get 14 to 24-year-olds to take action to better the planet in accordance to the Living Planet report. The story of humanity and our relationship to our Earth may be seen as a continuing adventure or a tragedy shrouded in ignorance. The choice is simple, and the choice is ours. From numerous initiatives, priority areas, and priority species, the entire WWF network focuses on 6 major goals: forests, oceans, wildlife, food, climate and energy, and fresh water, followed by 3 key drivers of environmental problems: markets, finance, and governance. All these aspects are woven throughout WWF's impressive 146-page Living Planet report, which tie back to our objective of our audience taking action in accordance to it. Don't worry, we read it so you don't have to. This generation and WWF have a huge opportunity to build a sustainable future for all, and the momentum is on our side. I don't know much about science, but I know that momentum feeds off action. The situation could go either way, and me, you, WWF need to take action. WWF presents this challenge at the forefront to get 14 to 24-year-olds to take action to make an impact to save and improve our planet for the better of our Earth in accordance to WWF's Living Planet report. In order to understand our broad audience of 14 and 24-year-olds, we had to start from the ground up. We conducted qualitative and quantitative research to examine everything from demographic, socioeconomic status, ethnicities and regions globally, education, values and beliefs, personalities and attitudes, morals and ethics, cultural influences, and their lifestyles and interests. In the last 98 days, through our demanding journey through our marketplace analysis review, consumer audits, lots of tiers, competitive analysis, and primary and secondary research, we have become beyond fully immersed in who our audience really is and what is getting in the way of them acting on our objective. In summary, our consumer group are a study in contrast: high intent, low action; low impact, high awareness; short on money, willing to pay more. Each of these contrasts represents a valuable opportunity to learn more about them. To understand the barriers to addressing these gaps was essential, and to formulate communications that can help cross the chasm into allowing them to take action. Our first insight in attempting to find a real problem was through our qualitative research process. It is certainly true that nearly all we seem to hear about the younger generation and how we paint them in a negative light. The main manifestation of the assertions we place on this age group are them either experiencing problems or are a problem. Our consumer group feels less optimistic and hopeful than the previous generations, which can be a problem for caring, motivation, and of course, taking action. Take a look and listen to these key aspects we collected that led us one step closer to our real problem.
Yeah, it's definitely the people of how they think about these kinds of problems. They either just want to go with the flow and help, but they don't really care about it. Like maybe they've seen it like an ad that gives away some prize, like, oh, I'll just do it for that, and the next minute they're not. Or there's someone that's just super caring that they just make a big program or someone just doesn't want to. So I think it really, the barrier is just the society that plays in our lives. Like, people would choose which side you want to do, and it's kind of sad because they just acknowledge the fact that just being like the choice that you can make to make an impact is really all that is needed to make, something different. So
we just take advantage of it a lot. Like, we don't really care how much we use or how much we save, I guess you could say. I mean, it's just how people are, I guess.
Do you believe that people have to care in order to take action?
Yeah. Yes and no. Like, some people couldn't care, but I feel like if they care, then they're more likely to take action. So I guess, yeah.
For sure. Though this was a key insight, we learned quickly it was something even greater than this. Our next big aha moment, we unveiled that our target consumers carry a silent green guilt tied to a lack of understanding more about sustainable efforts. When interviewed, our target audience filled out a projectile technique about what they think can and cannot be recycled. Many voiced their opinions while filling it out, and they did not know what was recyclable. They feel that this is something that they should understand and want to understand, and many feel guilty not having an understanding of this.
That's weird.
I think, well, this is a global scale issue, and I think before we resolve the biggest problems, the most serious problems, we have to look into the most immediate problems, or the problems that each and every person can contribute to. I think by raising the first thing that we all should do, and I think everybody can do, is to reduce the plastic bags. Yes, I think that's the starting point. After you have to do those first things. After that, you start thinking about larger issues. You don't go out and try to change the world and forget about yourself. So I think we have to start first with ourselves before we attempt to do something to change, like air pollution or ozone pollution.
I think probably either or both education and just availability. Because without knowing what you can do, you're not going to really do it unless you know what to do. If you don't have the availability to recycle, rather than throw something in the trash, or like understand that this group of people was asking for money towards a certain goal, if you don't know about that, then you're not going to be able to help them.
Okay. Straws, trash.
I know, I was just saying, I thought recycle, but never mind.
But sure enough, we soon discovered this guilt is only a small piece of our puzzle, and our real problem was still a bridge we needed to cross to get us closer to how we could tackle our objective. Our next insight we discovered was that our consumer group are often labeled the generation of nostalgia. We grew up in the age of a very connected transition, from the 20th century to the 21st century, from handwritten letters to emails, from VHS tapes and CD players to Netflix and iTunes. My generation is a hybrid between the generation before and the generation of the one after us. Some people may call us the trophy generation because of the way we have each other's backs. There are no winners and no losers. There's a seamless connection between the generations before us and the next generations. In 2013, Joel Stein deemed our generation the me generation. The Time contributor called us selfish, egotistical, and lazy. However, he also noted that we may just be the generation that will save us all, because we can easily argue why we are indeed not selfish, egotistical, nor lazy.
Hey, how much money do you have?
Like 69 cents.
You know what that means.
I don't have enough money for chicken nugget.
All of these insights are northern stars leading us to the real problem. Unlike the seamless transition throughout our lifetimes, the real problem is actually a gap. There's no doubt the overall destruction of the planet we share has taken place over a long period of time, most of which our target audience wasn't even around for or were too young to fully understand. In response, the real problem is that our target audience feels separated from the state of the planet, and this is the same reason why conservation and sustainable efforts aren't essential on the priority list. We are the first generation to know we are destroying our planet, and the last that can do anything about it. The generation before us might be sorry for the state of the current planet's condition, but we are not sorry. This future, we do not accept it, because an error does not become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We can redirect this. Bringing our strategy to the forefront, we ask, how? Connect the gap our target consumer audience feels disaffiliated from by adjusting their perspective of concerns into a top priority. It's time to make the connection. Per usual, no one knows what to make of us. Our parents scorn us, then praise us. They nag over our technological dependency, then ask us to set up their iPads. They tell us we're lazy and ask for a quick loan. Our generation is an anomaly. We refuse to do things their way. They call us entitled or the trophy generation. We refuse to sit in cubicle office spaces, so they call us spoiled. We refuse to follow their plans, so they call us stubborn. What they are slowly realizing, however, is we're not lazy, stubborn, nor entitled. We just refuse to accept things as they're given to us. They may not understand why we're not running down the paths they have carved for us with our arms wide open, but sorry, we're just not interested. We must look at the root, and not to the branches of the government, not to the politicians run by corporations. We are the root. We are the foundation. This generation can close this gap and make the connection. It is up to us to take care of this planet. It is our only home. We must first change our priorities in order to change the climate, and realize that we are not apart from nature. We are a part of nature. And to betray nature is to betray us. To save nature is to save us. Because whatever you're fighting for, racism, poverty, feminism, gay rights, or any type of equality, it won't matter in the long run, because if we don't all make the connection and take action by realizing this is our fight now and putting this at the top of our priorities, we will be equally extinct. Sorry. Surprise, the presentation isn't over quite yet, but I am cutting the sad piano music. I can't take it anymore. But before we conclude this wonderful and demanding journey with World Wildlife Fund in the last 14 weeks, we wanted to showcase a few creative inspirations for how important developing a strategy is when tackling a real problem. At the end of the day, strategy is about how we get people to do something. And I'm a sucker for good quotes and keep track of key quotes my professors say throughout the semester. And my favorite quote from Professor Wendy Wardell was actually from our first lecture of the semester on August 30th, 2018. She stated, it's the brain, the foundation that drives everything else. At first I didn't understand this, but here we are in full circle on the last day of the semester. And now it all makes sense. Getting to the strategy is a journey, but it's just the beginning of a greater journey of everything else that follows. Let's take a look at how other brands have used strategy to solve problems. First is Oxfam. Oxfam is a confederation of 20 independent charitable organizations focusing on the alleviation of global poverty. Oxfam had a problem. Dun dun dun. They felt they needed to understand how a series of diverse global cultures viewed the issues it campaigns on. And despite traction in the Southern Hemisphere, Oxfam wanted its Even It Up campaign to have a global impact. How would they solve this? You guessed it, a strategy. The strategy Oxfam manifested was to acquire a holistic understanding of how the public and diverse cultures viewed inequality issues that influenced the culture of poverty. Through its listening and learning methodology research with 3 distinct audiences, Oxfam unpacked how the culture of inequality and poverty is viewed globally, solving their problem. The cultural insights generated helped produce a multi-award-winning film with significant reach and engagement, and drove a policy change within the UK government that benefited millions of underprivileged people. Now that is a happy ending. Next, let's dive into another problem versus strategy synopsis. Ad Council, a nonprofit organization, stuck to its media strategy of relevant ads by creating specific and targeted solutions to the food wastage problems in the U.S., achieving $86 million in donated media support. The problem, however, was that consumers are responsible for more wasted food than grocery stores and restaurants combined. So their objective was to change household behavior to reduce the problem of food waste. How will they achieve this? That's right, a strategy. The media strategy Ad Council concluded was to get targeted, relevant media for the different groups targeted in the campaign, including mothers and millennials. The campaign targeted people in the kitchen with its Alexa capabilities, which helped people store food properly, and partnered with world-renowned chefs to create recipes catered to seasonality. The campaign achieved $86 million in donated media support and over 2.1 billion media impressions. Noticing a trend here? Strategy is the foundation to solving a problem. Lastly, we finish with the Grads of Life, an employment-centered nonprofit. Grads of Life disrupted traditional hiring behaviors in the U.S. with its 7-second video resumes. The problem here was that landing a job after college is hard. Yeah, and the process involved doesn't make it any easier. Past Grads of Life campaigns had taken a PSA approach, but this doesn't get at the root of the problem. They developed a strategy to disrupt the hiring manager behavioral process and incite action, not just through awareness. Insights and research showed that managers skimmed through resumes at a rate of 7 seconds each. So every element of the communications approach had to address this critical 7-second time frame. Their solution later became to create the 7-second resume, a video format that allowed opportunity youth to share how their unique life skills could bring value to the workplace, and was shared on LinkedIn. The campaign achieved an average of 344 views for each 7-second resume. Site visits to gradsoflife.org increased by 74%. I just wanted to say thank you for your time and have a wonderful semester. I'm going to go buy some French fries.